All right, so here's the tally, folks. $521 billion dished out via that Paycheck Protection Payroll Program, but not without controversy. Now, the stats, according to the government, support 51 million jobs, so we know in that case it was successful, but there's a huge uproar over the fact that a lot of rich and powerful people got a lot of cash. Businesses linked to the lawmakers, caucuses, and a whole lot of others. Billionaires, they got a piece of the action. Of course, you might have heard by now, even rapper Kanye West, his company secured up to $5 million. So the shame game is on, and it has everyone pointing fingers. Joining me now to discuss, Young Americans for Liberty analyst Kristin Tate. Kristin, here's the thing. Listen, the program has been politicized, and in the last 24 hours, kind of used to portray folks as being hypocrites. I'll give you an example. The Ayn Rand Institute got a bunch of cash, right? Maybe $1 million. Ironically, they must have known the criticism was coming because a few weeks ago, they put out a message saying it's okay to take the money. They called it justice. But I know someone like you, you're not necessarily always for government being involved in these kind of things. Where do you fall on this?
Well, of course, when the government creates a massive program to hand out trillions of dollars, everyone's going to want a piece of that. Sadly, though, Charles, I know several small business owners, including some in my family, who never even applied for these loans because, frankly, they were just too busy trying to survive and keep their small businesses afloat. Unlike small businesses, though, large corporations have lots of resources and armies of staff who know how to navigate the bureaucratic system, how to fill out all the paperwork, how to jump through the hoops, and how to pull down big checks. That's how you end up with country clubs, Kanye West, private jet companies receiving millions from PPP loans. That's our money. And as you mentioned in your open, members of Congress, they're benefiting from this too. For example, Nancy Pelosi's husband is an investor in a firm that received some of this government money. The government has got to get out of the business of handing out dollars to everybody. We've got to reopen the economy with precautions in place for those who are most vulnerable. And I've got to give a shout out to Thomas Massie because he was one of the only people in D.C. back in April who warned about this. He said the stimulus was just the cheese in the mousetrap. And now we know exactly who's actually benefiting from this stimulus money and who basically just got crumbs.
Well, I mean, apparently, though, a lot of businesses, 4.8 million loans were put out there. They say it supported 51 million jobs. But to your point, it is interesting. Now, I want to get back sort of because on the libertarian side, the Ayn Rand Institute said, again, this is going back, I think they put this out in March. They said, we will take it unapologetically because the principle here is justice. And the notion is that if you put a lot of money into the government via taxes, high taxes, unjustifiably high taxes, you should have a chance to take it back. I mean, is that a good moral ground standing point for folks who are saying, listen, I'm wealthy, but I put a lot of cash into the system anyway?
Well, it was the government that forced the Ayn Rand Institute and others to stay closed for months on end. It was the government who prevented people from being able to make a living. So do I begrudge the Ayn Rand Institute or other conservative groups for taking the money? No, I don't. But the PPP program shouldn't exist in the first place, Charles, because these government-forced lockdowns and economic shutdowns never should have happened. The government can only redistribute the wealth of others. It cannot help. It can only force others to help. So we need to remember, instead of just celebrating when the government is just handing out checks to everybody, that $2.3 trillion is coming from taxpayers. Once again, it's the hardworking men and women of this country who are funding the corrupt system that we have in place.
Yeah, and there's still $130 billion left. Do you think something should be targeted so that your relatives who didn't get a bite at this apple but probably deserve it more than anyone else and other folks that I've talked to, that somehow they know about it, they get aid in getting this money?
Well, when I talk to my relatives who are small business owners, they don't want more government involvement. They don't want government help. They want government to get out of their way. My stepmom wants to be able to open her restaurants and have people in her business again. That's what we can do to help the economy. That's better than any government check. As Ronald Reagan said, the most terrifying words that you can hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
And I guess we can add the 2020 version to it because I've locked down the economy and I stopped you from opening your restaurant. Kristin, thank you very much. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah. Hey, folks, it's a